Okay, let's see now.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good.
I had a quick question about the Brentwood paper. I'm
Yes.
doing mine in Brentwood. I was curious, when you want us to write it, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of information that could go into it for just 2 pages. I was curious, is the information you want is like how it came about or how it ended or what it is?
Are you talking about the class presentation?
No, I think it's the writing paper. I didn't know there was a presentation.
Oh, the writing paper. Okay. Now, the writing paper, you need to have 3 pages at the most, not more than 3 pages.
Is the information that goes into it, could it be like how it came about after World War II and then how it ended and then like what it was?
Yes, yeah. In other words, try to summarize as much as you possibly can. In other words, try to focus on the most important points.
Okay.
I mean, I know you can write 6, 7, 10 pages on that, but all I want is just 3 pages, which means that you're going to be summarizing your analysis and you're going to be focusing on the most important points.
Okay.
Yes.
Professor, for the writing assignment on the directions, it said that we have to have at least 2 pages.
3 pages, yeah, not more than 3.
No, it says on the directions only 2 pages.
Yeah, but you can have up to 3. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if 2 pages, that's okay. If you write 2 pages, that's good. Okay, no problem. But if you feel like, hey, you have more information you want to add, then 3 pages, I think it's more than enough.
Do we have a presentation for this class?
No, it's not actually a presentation. It's just a class. So I don't know, what did we call it?
Report.
Yeah, class report, correct.
Oh, okay.
All
Yeah,
I want you to do is just write 1 page, double space, regarding what you have learned in this class, what were your expectations, etc. Just in 1 page, in your own words. Summarize what you have learned and what your expectations were.
Okay. Yeah, I turned that one in. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So for the research paper, typically do people do like well on that, or is it like kind of across the board?
Well, from my experience, the average on those papers is about 80%. The highest is about 95%. The lowest is 75%.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, does this help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I guess we better start. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will obviously be spending this session going over the review of the final exam. But before we do that, just a few words that I need to mention here. One of them, of course, is the date of the final exam, which will be December 17 from 1 p.m. to 2:50 p.m. Again, I'm gonna repeat this one more time. Make sure that you upload your answers in a Word doc. Don't use any images. No scanning. So make sure you use a Word doc to upload your answers in, and you're gonna do all of that through Titanium. So you will see a final exam link on Titanium. Make sure you use that link to upload your answers through. So that's about it. That's as far as the exam is concerned. The other thing I want you to make sure is that I want you to go over your grade book, check all your scores, and make sure that there are no discrepancies. If there are any discrepancies, or if you see that you're missing a score, please let me know immediately. Don't wait till the last minute. Let me know immediately. So that's as far as what I really wanted to talk about in as far as your scores and grade book and everything else that's connected with it. Other than that, I mean, you know, everything is basically, you know, boils down to the final exam, to the writing assignment, and to the class report. That's all you have left right now. So make sure you focus on these three things and make sure you do your best. Okay, review of the final exam. Let's start with question number 1. What are the market fundamentals that determine the exchange rate? Anyone?
Is it supply and demand?
And what are those market fundamentals? In other words, what are the things that would cause demand and supply to shift, basically?
Oh. Would it be import?
Is it one of them inflation?
Yes, one is inflation. What else?
Productivity level,
Yes.
consumer preference, and trade policy?
Correct. All of those are market fundamentals.
And
All those
those are
have to do with economic variables that impact market fundamentals. So you have short run, you have medium run, and you have long run factors. All of those are known as market fundamentals. All of those will shift your demand and supply in a foreign exchange market, which will affect the exchange rate. Okay, is this understood? Now we go to the second question. How will tight monetary policy affect the exchange rate and the interest rate? Can someone volunteer an answer here?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by tight monetary policy?
Very good. Tight monetary policy simply means contractionary monetary policy, which means reducing the money supply.
At a higher interest rate?
Exactly. Reducing the money supply will lead to a higher interest rates. And what will that do to the exchange rate?
will it increase exchange
Reduce
rate?
demand?
It will lower the exchange rate, which means appreciating the dollar. So remember here, lowering the exchange rate means you're actually appreciating the dollar. Increasing the exchange rate means you're depreciating the dollar. So it's very important you keep track of that. And make sure you use your wordings correctly. Okay, so increasing the exchange rate means depreciating the dollar. Decreasing the exchange rate means appreciating the dollar. So now we know exactly what will tight monetary policy do to both the exchange rate and the interest rate.
You said that it'll appreciate the dollar, is that correct?
Yes, it will appreciate the dollar.
Would it reduce the demand too as the interest rate goes higher though?
Well, if the interest rate goes higher, it will reduce the demand of what?
Oh, okay, never mind. I got confused. I got it now.
Okay, all right. Question 3. What happens to inflation and the current account balance when the government revalues its currency? Okay, in answering these types of questions, the first thing we need to do is we need to break down the question into several parts. The first thing here we need to do is we need to know what we mean by revaluing the currency. Anyone?
Isn't this what you had talked about when a country tries to like line their currency up with like another country's currency, or is that incorrect?
Do what?
I can't like remember the term that you used when you were describing this, but you were saying that like I think you said that like when a country revalues their currency, they'll try to like not align, but like make it similar to like another country's currency, but I don't remember the exact wording that you used
No,
for that.
no. When
No? Okay.
when you revalue the currency, all what you're doing is you're making your currency stronger. You are making it worth more in terms of foreign currencies. That's what you're doing when you're revaluing your currency. Making it stronger, making it worth more. Okay, so now when the government revalues its currency, what will happen to its current account balance? First of all, when you revalue the currency, what happens to your imports and
They decrease.
exports?
Exports increase.
What's that?
Do exports increase? And no, it would be the other way around. Your exports decrease and your imports increase.
Very good. Your imports will increase, your exports will decrease. Why? Because you have revalued your currency. Because now your currency is very strong. So you can buy a lot more foreign goods than before. Why? Because foreign goods now are cheaper, simply because your currency is strong. Therefore, imports will increase, exports will decrease. So what will happen to the current account balance here?
Will it increase?
Increase?
In what way increase? What do we mean by increase? Just let me know in terms of deficit or surplus.
Wouldn't the deficit increase?
Yes, absolutely. So your current account balance will enter into deficit. Let's say if we started from a balanced current account, now when you revalue the currency, the current account will enter into deficit. Okay, so we answered the first part. What happens to the current account? Now, what happens to inflation?
Increases.
Why do you say it will increase inflation?
I'd say it decreases.
Because your money's worth more.
Did you say decrease or increase inflation?
I said increase. I think the other person said decrease.
The right answer, of course, is decrease. Decrease inflation. Why? Well, when the cost of imports are lower because your currency is strong, that lower cost of imports will put a lid on inflation at home. So it will reduce inflation. Has everyone gotten that?
No,
You say the last part again.
now.
Yeah, can you repeat it, please?
Yes. when your currency is strong, your imports are now cheaper. So when a country imports a lot of goods into the country at a very low cost, this will help put a lid on inflation.
Why wouldn't your products become more expensive and that's why your exports would decrease? Wouldn't that be part of inflation as well because things become more expensive?
No, when you're importing goods into the country, you're going to be using a lot of those goods that you're importing and producing goods at home. So now obviously the cost has gone down. So this will put a lid on inflation. Inflationary pressures at home will be lowered as a result of import prices falling.
Okay.
Okay, everyone got that? Okay, let's move on. If there is excess supply of dollars in the foreign exchange market, what will happen to the current account in both the US and Europe? So let's first start with the current account in the US. If there is excess supply of dollars, how will this affect the current account in the US? Will it make the current account deficit or surplus?
Surplus?
No. See, think of it this way. When there is excess supply of dollars, that means a lot of people are bringing dollars to the foreign exchange market to do what? To purchase foreign currency. Now, why would they want to purchase foreign currency? Because they want to import goods. So in this case, what you will have is that you will have a lot of US citizens importing a lot of goods from overseas. So when there is an excess supply of dollars in the foreign exchange market, this will mean that the US current account is in deficit. And if the US current account is in deficit, what is the European current account?
Surplus.
What's that?
Surplus.
Surplus, yes. So everyone knows this, right? So please, if you get this question, and I know you're gonna get it in the final, don't get it wrong. Okay. What causes the euro to depreciate in value? Anyone? What causes the euro to depreciate in value? Yeah, go ahead.
Low European interest rates and higher
Very good.
American interest rates.
Yes, that's one. Lower European interest rate versus US interest rates. What else? How about if US tastes and preferences shift away from European goods? What will this do to the euro?
Decrease their exports.
Yeah, which would mean, what will it do to the euro?
Lower its value.
Very good. Depreciate its value. So you can see there are a lot of things that may cause the euro to depreciate in value. There are market fundamentals as well as market speculation. There are short-term factors, medium-term factors, long-term factors. All of this can cause either the euro or the dollar to depreciate or appreciate. So everything that we need to know here is make sure in which direction these factors will work on the different currencies. Okay, let's move on. What are debits and credits in the balance of payment? How did we define debits and credits in terms of what?
Government purchases, foreign exchange purchases, and like travel, isn't it?
Yes, but how did we actually define it? How did we express these debits and credits in terms of cash inflow, cash outflow? Correct? For example, exports are what? Credits or debits?
Credits?
Credits. Very good. How about, let's say, for example, US tourists overseas?
It's a debit.
Debit, very good. So now you get the
What
picture.
is the question again, please?
What are
What
debits
US
and what are credits? And one example I used here is US tourists spending money in Europe. Will this be recorded as a debit or as a credit in the balance of payments?
debit?
Very good, debit. So this is basically some of the questions that you may see in the final exam, trying to determine whether these transactions are credits or debits in the balance of payments.
So I have a question.
Yes,
So debits are considered like cash outflow?
yes,
Okay, and then exports are cash inflow because we're getting money for exporting the goods.
correct. Very good.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Thank you.
absolutely correct. Okay. If the European Central Bank devalues the euro, what will happen to inflation and the trade balance? Again, we need to break this question down. The first thing is the ECB devaluing the euro. So what does this mean? The ECB devalues the euro. Does it make it stronger or make it weaker?
Weaker.
It makes it weaker.
Weaker. Very good. It makes the euro weaker. Okay. So let's see, when the euro becomes weak, what will happen to the trade balance? Will we be able to import more or export more when the euro is weak?
Export more?
Very good, export more. So what will happen to the trade balance in this case?
Wait, export more means the European country export more or the US export more?
No, the European countries will export more.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So what will happen to the trade balance for Europe?
It would increase.
What's that?
Wouldn't it increase?
Yes, it will go more into surplus. Okay, so we pretty much answered that question. Now we want to answer inflation. What happens to inflation?
It will go up.
Decrease, won't it?
Inflation would decrease. Why? Why would
Because their products
inflation
are
in
worth less.
Europe decrease?
Because their products are worth less? Because their currency is worth less?
No. If the currency is worth less, that simply means that European exports are cheaper, but European imports are now more expensive. So when European imports are more expensive, and if Europe happens to import certain goods that they need because they need those goods to produce domestic goods, then what will this do to inflation?
Wouldn't it increase?
Yes, it will increase inflation. Okay. Let's move on. Under
Excuse me,
floating,
Professor. Can you say that again? Why will it increase?
increase inflation? Okay. Simply because the cost of imports into Europe are now much higher than before. So now when Europe is trying to import certain raw materials or semi-finished goods or whatever the case may be for the purpose of producing more goods at home, will it increase the cost or will it lower the cost now for Europeans?
Lower?
No,
It'll increase the cost,
it
won't
will
it?
increase the cost, which means it would lead to inflation, basically.
Okay, I see now. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Question 8. Under floating exchange rate system and high capital mobility, the Fed will use what policy to combat recession? Obviously, here I have made it easier for you. I said the Fed. I did not say the government. Because remember, the Fed can only use monetary policy. The government can only use fiscal policy. So when we say the Fed here, we're obviously referring to monetary policy. So the Fed will use what policy to combat recession? Answer.
Expansionary.
What's that?
Expansionary.
Very good. Expansionary monetary policy. What does that mean? What is expansionary monetary policy?
Government buys bonds from banks and individuals.
Okay. And what would this lead to?
An increase in the money supply?
Very good. That's what I wanted to hear. Increase in the money supply. And what will an increase in the money supply do to the interest rate?
It'll reduce interest rate?
It will reduce interest rate. Now, if the country is going through floating exchange rate system and high capital mobility, what will this do to the exchange rate? What will happen to the exchange rate?
Decrease?
Very good. Decreases. I'm sorry. Let's not again fall into this trap of decreasing. Let's talk about depreciation versus appreciation. So in this case, because the interest rate falls, we know that capital will be moving outside the US, which would mean this would put pressure on the US dollar, meaning the dollar will depreciate, which would mean the exchange rate will increase. Everyone got that?
Can you say the last part again? So when it's depreciation and the exchange rate
Yes.
will increase?
Yeah. When the exchange rate increases, this means the dollar will depreciate.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Let's move on. Question number 9. What is purchasing power parity and how is it used to formulate expectations about exchange rates? Let me ask you a question before we continue. How many of you have read this review and gone through it and attempted to answer some of these questions?
I tried to, but I didn't understand some of your abbreviations, so I couldn't I don't know. I just, some of them I was like, I don't know what this means. And I was like trying to find it, but.
Okay.
I tried too. I tried to.
You tried it and were you able to Get the right answers?
Only a few of them.
Only a few of them. Very good. Okay, so at least, you know, now by going through them, we know how to answer them, which is important. That's why we're going through it now. Okay, so I hope that, you know, in the final exam, I will not put any abbreviations. So at least, you know, you will be able to understand what's going on. So like here, for example, you know, E is the exchange rate, which you can see in the first question. It says the exchange rate. And then, of course, in parentheses, I put the letter E, refers to the exchange rate. I refers to the interest rate. MP, monetary policy. CA, current account. BOP, balance of payments. ECB, European Central Bank. ERS, exchange rate system. So hopefully, you know, we will try to, or at least, you know, try to write them down and keep that piece of paper with you when you go to the final exam. So at least, you know, but I'm sure, you know, I will try not to use any abbreviations. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. What is purchasing power parity and how is it used to formulate expectations about exchange rates? Well, the first thing we need to know about the PPP, which is purchasing power parity, is that it is a long-run theory of exchange rates. What the PPP tells us is that over the long run, the exchange rate will tend toward equilibrium that will be based on making the cost of baskets, same basket of goods in both countries, to be exactly the same. For example, let's say that there is a given basket of goods in the US that costs $500. And this same basket of goods costs 250 euros in Europe. From here, what does the PPP tell us about the exchange rate?
The exchange rate is $2 for a euro.
Very good, excellent. That's what the PPP is all about. The PPP will tell you that once you tell me what the cost of each basket is in each country based on their own currencies, then I can do my computations and I can tell you exactly what the exchange rate would be in the long run. Now, according to the information I have given you, the PPP will determine the exchange rate to be $2 per euro in the long run. Now, in the short run, the exchange rate may be higher or lower. But we know that in the long run, it will converge to its long run equilibrium value of $2 per euro. Is this understood, what the PPP is?
Is that just because you divide the larger currency by the smaller currency?
Yes, you divide dollars per euro because you want to find the exchange rate, which is dollars per euro, correct?
Oh, yes, okay.
So you take the dollars and you divide them by euros. So I take $500, I divide it by 250 euros, and I get $2 per euro.
Can you please say it one more time, please?
Say what? The whole thing?
Yeah, say this question, please.
Yeah, what is PPP and how is it used to formulate expectations about exchange rate? We said that the PPP is a long-run theory of exchange rates. In other words, it explains exchange rates over the long run. And the triple P bases that on the cost of baskets of goods. It says that the cost of a basket of good in one country must be exactly the same as another country. So if I'm told that the cost of a basket of goods in the US is $500, and that same basket of goods in Europe costs 250 euros, then the triple P would tell me that the exchange rate will be $500 divided by 250 euros, which is equal to $2 per euro.
Excuse me, Professor, I have a
Okay.
quick question. You said if we do dollars divided by euro, is that the exchange rate or the interest rate?
That's the exchange rate.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, let's move on because we have a lot that we need to go through. What are the long-run determinants of exchange rates? Can anyone help us out here? What are the long-run determinants of exchange rates?
Would that include like monetary or trade policies?
Mm-hmm. What else?
Technology.
What's that?
Technology.
Technology, yes. What else? Labor productivity, inflation, tastes and preferences. All of those are long-run determinants of the exchange rate.
Wait, I'm sorry. So you said technology, labor productivity, tastes and preferences, and what was the other one?
Trade policy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Inflation, I think.
Inflation.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mhm. What is crawling pegged exchange rates? What is meant by crawling pegged exchange rates? You will find this in my notes, by the way, to chapter 15. Crawling pegged exchange rate. What it means is that when countries decide to adjust their exchange rate, they will not adjust it all at once, but they will keep adjusting their exchange rate frequently with very, very small adjustments each time. For example, let's say that a country believes that it wants to depreciate its currency by 12%. So what this country would do is that they will depreciate their currency every month by 1%. That's why we call it crawling pegged exchange rate. And this could either go up or down, by the way. It doesn't have to be depreciating. It could also be appreciating. But the thing is, you will not appreciate or depreciate the currency all at once, but you do it in stages. You will do it frequently with very, very small changes. And I guess, I do define this in much more details in my notes. So please, if you don't feel comfortable or sure about this, go back to chapter 15 notes. Okay, question 12. Under a fixed exchange rate system and high capital mobility, how will an expansionary fiscal policy affect the trade balance and the capital account? Again, we need to break this down. First thing, what is expansionary fiscal policy?
increasing money supply, decreasing interest rate, increasing consumption.
No, 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 no. Please don't confuse monetary policy with fiscal policy. Fiscal policy has nothing to do with the money supply.
Is it increasing government spending or decreasing taxes
Very
for
good.
when there's high unemployment?
Very good. That's what it is. That's what expansionary fiscal policy is. You would increase government spending or you will lower taxes. Okay. Now, let's say we increase government spending. How will this affect income?
It'll increase income?
It will increase income. Okay. So now we know exactly what is happening. We're increasing government spending. This is going to lead to an increase in income. And what will an increase in income do to imports?
Increase?
Very good. Increase it. So what will this do to my trade balance?
Surplus?
Make it worse or better?
Deficit.
Oh, deficit.
Exactly. Make it worse. Turn it into a deficit. Right? Because you're importing more. Everyone got that? So now we answered the first part. How does it affect the trade balance? It will turn it into a deficit. Now, how about the capital account? Well, to answer this question, I need to know what's going to happen to the interest rate. So with an expansionary fiscal policy, increasing government spending, that simply means interest rates will go up as the government spends more money, because the government will have to demand more money to spend more money. Therefore, the interest rate will go up. Now, if the interest rate goes up, what happens to the capital flow? Will we be getting more money in, or will more
Surplus.
money go out?
More
Well,
money in?
Very good. There will be more money coming in. So what will happen to my capital account then? Will I have a surplus or will I have a deficit?
Surplus?
Very good. Surplus. There you go. So you pretty much answered everything here. So do you see what I mean when I say, let's break these questions down? Because by breaking them down, you'll be able to answer them. Okay, let's move on. What is expenditure switching? In other words, what do we need to be able to implement expenditure switching? What are the tools for expenditure switching? Again, for those of you who have forgotten, go back to my notes on chapter 16. Anyone remembers?
Is it adjusting the exchange rate and trade policies?
Very good, excellent. So you've been doing your homework. Exchange rate adjustments and trade policy. That's what expenditure switching is. It's either adjusting the exchange rate or making changes to your trade policy. Okay, how will interest arbitrage affect the spot exchange rate and the forward exchange rate? If there is interest arbitrage, meaning if there is interest rate differential between countries, let's say, for example, the interest rate in the US is 5%. The interest rate in Europe is 3%. So how will this affect the spot exchange rate and the forward exchange rate for the US dollar? Any volunteers? Let's start with the spot exchange rate. What will happen to the value of the dollar? The dollar will appreciate. Why? Because the interest rate in the US is higher. So everyone wants to bring their money and invest it in the US. So the demand for dollar would go up. And when the demand for dollar goes up, the dollar will appreciate in value, or the exchange rate would fall. Is everyone okay with that part?
Can you repeat, what did you say? The US was 5% and Euro was 3%?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Which would mean that we want to invest in the US, which would mean that there will be more demand for dollars, which would mean that the dollar will appreciate in value, which would mean that the exchange rate would fall.
What do you mean by the exchange rate will fall?
Because that's what we mean by the dollar appreciating. The dollar will appreciate when the exchange rate falls. In other words, you will require fewer dollars to exchange for 1 euro. That's when the exchange rate falls. Fewer dollars are needed to purchase 1 euro. You got that?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good. So now we know exactly what happens in the spot market. Let's look at the forward market. And what would happen to the forward exchange rate? Now, let's say that in 3 months, these investments will mature and investors would want to take their money back. So what are they going to do to the dollars?
Depreciate?
Exactly. So they want to get rid of dollars and they want to buy euros. So the supply of dollars would increase and the demand for euros would increase, which would mean that the dollar will lose value, will depreciate, and the euro will gain value, will appreciate in the forward market. Is this clear? What will happen in the spot market and the forward market as a result of interest arbitrage?
Could you go over spot again, I guess, really quickly? Would it be more attractive
Yeah.
to go for the spot?
Yeah, the spot market would mean that there will be an increase in demand for dollars simply because investors would want to invest in the US. The increase in demand for dollars will raise the value of the dollar versus the euro. So the dollar will appreciate. Now, in the forward exchange market, investors will demand euros. Why? Because in 3 months, investors would want to convert those dollars back to euros. So the demand for euro would increase. And this would mean that the US dollar will depreciate in the forward market.
And that's because of what happened in this, because the US dollar appreciated, and then like
The spot
basically
market.
it just kind of reverses what it had done in the spot market to the forward
Exactly.
market.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. 15. Identify capital outflows and inflows from given financial transactions, such as the sale of a euro bond to a US investor. So in this case, you would be given an example like this, and you would be asked, well, does this refer to a capital inflow or a capital outflow? For example, the sale of a euro bond to a US investor. A US investor buying a euro bond. Will this refer to capital outflow or capital inflow?
Outflow.
Outflow. Very good. So make sure you know that. 16. Under a floating exchange rate system, how will high inflation affect the trade balance? So if a country is going through high inflation, how will this affect its trade balance? Will this country experience a deficit or a surplus as a result of inflation?
Deficit.
Very
Deficit.
good. Deficit. That's the right answer. Okay. What are market expectations? Anyone? Remember, we talked about market fundamentals. Now we're talking about market expectations. What are they? What do market expectations refer to? Again, for those of you who are not clear, make sure you go to my notes on chapter 12. It explains what market expectations are. Market expectations have to do with what speculators expect the value of certain economic variables are going to be in the future. That's what market expectations are. So market expectations do play an important role in determining exchange rates. For example, if speculators believe that the US dollar is overvalued, then they will start getting rid of US dollars, which will lead the dollar to depreciate. Is this understood?
Excuse me, Professor.
Yes.
Can you say what they are again, briefly?
What's that?
Can you say 17 again?
17, what are market expectations? Market expectations are simply the expectations that speculators have regarding certain economic variables, such as inflation, interest rates, trade policies, technology, labor productivities. They happen to define certain expectations regarding these economic variables. That's what we mean by market expectations. What causes the dollar to depreciate in value? By now, I think everyone should know the answer to that. Okay, 19. If the US runs a surplus on its current account, then its capital account will show a...
Is it credit?
What's that?
Credit?
No, I mean, you're talking about a surplus on the current account. So if there is a surplus on the current account, what will the capital account show? A surplus or a deficit?
Deficit?
Very good, deficit. They always go opposite to one another.
Wait, Professor, which question are you talking about right now?
19.
You skip 18.
No, 18, I already said that everyone
No,
should know.
18.
Yeah, what causes the dollar to depreciate in value? I mean, we have talked so much about this.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. You just mentioned that. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
so, yeah. Okay, 20. When will the burden of a current account deficit be minimized?
Wait, excuse me, Professor. So when I was trying to ask you about 18 and I missed the 19, can you say it again on 19?
Yeah, 19, we said that if the US runs a surplus on its current account, then its capital account will show a deficit. They always go opposite. So if there is a deficit in the current account, there will be a surplus in the capital account. If there is a surplus on the current account, there will be a deficit in the capital account.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
What's the capital account and current account? Why are they different?
Yeah, the current account, hopefully by now, all of you know what the current account is. Those three items that we talked about. The trade balance, net unilateral transfers, and net investment income. That's what the current account is. The capital account includes all the financial transactions that take place between one country and the rest of the world. And all these financial transactions can be undertaken by either the private sector, like individual households, banks, corporations, or what have you, or by the public sector, the government. So there is a lot of financial transactions taking place. All of those financial transactions will be recorded in the capital account or the financial account. Is this clear?
Yes.
So what did we say about the balance of payment? We said the balance of payment will always sum to zero. So if there is a surplus in my current account of, let's say, plus 500, then my capital account should show a deficit of minus 500. Because the balance of payment is made up of two accounts, the current account and the financial account. Is this understood?
Yes.
Okay. When will the burden of a current account deficit be minimized? Remember, when a country runs a current account deficit, that simply means that the country is borrowing money. Now, it depends what that country would be doing with that money. If they're going to use that money for consumption purposes, then you would be making the burden of the current account deficit much more. However, if you use that borrowed money for investment purposes, then you will minimize the burden of the current account deficit. So does everyone know how the current account, the burden of the current account deficit may be minimized?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, would it be when you said when the government invests money?
When the government does what?
It invests the money?
Yes, when they invest the money,
Thank you.
that will minimize. the burden of the current account deficit. How does the Fed offset the depreciation of the dollar?
Isn't that from like buying up the dollar out of the Forex market?
Very good. By buying dollars in the foreign exchange market. That's how they will offset the depreciation of the dollar. Buying more dollars. When they buy more dollars, what happens to the money supply?
Decrease?
What's that?
It decreases?
Very good, decreases. And when the supply of dollar decreases, what happens to the interest rate?
It goes up.
Goes up. And when the interest rate goes up, what happens to the exchange rate?
It decreases.
Very good. It decreases, which means the dollar will appreciate. And that's exactly what the Fed does to offset the depreciation of the dollar.
I'm sorry, so you said that this exchange rate will decrease and
Yes.
that causes the dollar to appreciate?
Appreciate, correct.
Okay, thank you.
22, to reduce a current account deficit, a nation must save more than it
Spends.
spends or
Zooms.
Exports.
no,
Investment.
exactly, more than it invests. Because that's the definition of the current account. Current account is equal to S minus I. So for a nation to reduce its current account deficit, saving must be greater than investment. Okay, 23. The three most important factors that determine the balance of trade are exchange rate, PF over PDE, which simply means relative prices, foreign price divided by domestic price. That's what we mean by that relationship. PF over PD, foreign price divided by domestic price. And then relative growth rates, G, that small g refers to relative growth rates. So again, the three most important factors that will determine the balance of trade will be the exchange rate, relative prices, and relative growth rates. So very important to remember this. Okay. How does...
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
The three most important factors that will determine the balance of trade are: 1, the exchange rate; 2, relative prices; 3, relative growth rates. So does everyone know what PF stands for?
Foreign prices.
Foreign prices. And what does PD stand for?
Domestic prices.
Domestic prices. And what does G stand for?
Relative
Relative growth
growth
rate.
rate.
Very good. Relative growth rates. So those are the three things that will affect the balance of trade. Okay, 24. How does growth in per capita income affect the exchange rate? Let's say, for example, per capita income in the US increases. How will this affect the exchange rate? Through what mechanism? Increase in income will lead to increase in imports. Increase in imports will lead to an increase in the demand for foreign currency. So what will this do to the exchange rate? It will increase the exchange rate, which means it will do what to the dollar?
Depreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Depreciate the dollar. Depreciate the dollar. Everyone got that? So again, if you see this question in the final exam, don't get it wrong. $25, an increase in the dollar price of foreign currency will cause foreign goods to be cheaper or more expensive.
More expensive?
Very good, more expensive. 26, what explains the appreciation of the dollar during the 1980s? I guess I probably did not explain this, but I'm going to explain it for you now. During the 1980s, the US was going through double-digit inflation. So the chairman of the Fed at the time, Paul Volcker, decided to use contractionary monetary policy to combat inflation. So when he used contractionary monetary policy, he reduced the money supply, which meant the interest rate increased tremendously. When the interest rate increased, this put pressure on the US dollar, which meant that the US dollar will appreciate. And that's exactly what happened during the 1980s. Is this understood?
One more time. You said contractionary monetary policy was used?
Correct, which reduced the money supply and increased the interest rates. And the increase in the interest rate led to the appreciation of the dollar. $27. Find the current account from a table of financial transactions. And here, what I would like you to do is I would like you to go to one of the homework examples that we had. Remember a table? You had a table full of numbers and items, and you were asked to determine the current account balance. So again,
That's
we're gonna have
homework
the same
number
thing.
4, right?
Yes, exactly. So again, in the exam, you will have a similar table with similar items and transactions, and you will be asked to find the current account balance. Okay, 28. What factors will lead to the demand curve in the Forex to shift leftward. So again, you look at the Forex, we have the demand for euros, the supply of euros. So the question here is asking you, what factors will cause the demand curve for euros to shift leftward? In other words, there will be less demand for euros. Why will there be less demand for euros? And I guess we have already explained this many times. So by now, this should be very, very clear.
Would take
Lower interest rates, change in
Yes.
preference.
Good, very good. All of this. Changes in productivity levels, inflation, interest rates, all of these things will affect the demand for euro. Now, how it will affect it depends on what do we have? Do we have an increase in interest rates, a fall in interest rates? Do we have consumer tastes and preferences shift away from or toward European? So all of these things will help you determine how the demand curve for euros will shift. So do a lot of practice on that. Okay, 29. Under an adjustable pegged exchange rate system, how will inflation affect imports, exports, and foreign exchange reserves? Okay, let's start by breaking down this question. First, inflation, and how will it affect imports?
Increase
So
imports.
what's that?
It'll increase imports.
Very good, it will increase imports. And what will it do to exports?
Decrease them.
Decrease exports, very good. So now, what will this do to the foreign exchange reserves? If it increases imports and lower exports, what will happen to our foreign exchange reserves? Will they go up or will they go down?
Down.
down.
Very good, go down, excellent. Why?
People are buying foreign exchange currency to buy foreign items.
Good job. That's exactly what it is. So you see, I mean, you know, all these questions are really easy and simple. All what you need to do is simply focus, concentrate, and remember what we have learned in class. Because you have the tools to be able to answer all these questions. Okay, let's move forward. Question 30. What is exchange rate overshooting? Any volunteers? We talked about it, remember? So again, for those of you who have forgotten, go back to my notes on chapter 12. And you will see that the definition that I gave you for exchange rate overshooting is that this will occur whenever short-run adjustments to exchange rates are greater than the long-run adjustments. In other words, you know, there is always a tug of war between short-run and long-run. Now, when the short-run wins out, then the exchange rate is going to overshoot. If the long-run adjustment wins out, then we're going to have an exchange rate undershooting. So that's basically what exchange rate overshooting means.
Sorry, can you repeat?
What's that?
Can you repeat that?
Yes, exchange rate overshooting will occur whenever short-run adjustments to exchange rates exceed the long-run adjustments. Clear enough?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's go to 31. What happens to the money supply, aggregate demand, and interest rates when the Fed intervenes to prevent the dollar from appreciating? First of all, what will the Fed do to prevent the dollar from appreciating?
Decrease
Monetary
government
policy?
spending.
What's that?
Decrease government spending.
Just talk to me in terms of what the Fed will do to the dollar. Will they sell more dollars, buy more dollars in order to prevent the dollar from appreciating?
Sell bonds, right?
Hmm?
They sell bonds.
Just in terms of dollars. Tell me in terms of dollars. Will
They
the
would
They'll buy more.
what?
Would they buy more?
No, if they buy more dollars, that means they're going to help the dollar appreciate. And what
So
the
they're
Fed
gonna
wants to
sell.
do, exactly, sell dollars because they want to prevent the dollar from appreciating. So sell it. Make it lose its value. Make it become weaker. That's what the Fed is going to do, sell dollars. Okay, now if the Fed sells dollars, what happens to the money supply?
It's gonna
Increases.
increase.
Very good, the money supply will increase. And if the money supply increases, what will this do to the aggregate demand?
They'll lower?
No,
Oh, just kidding. It will
it
increase.
will increase, exactly. Increase aggregate demand. Aggregate demand will shift out. Why? Because there is more money in the economy. There is more spending taking place. And also, when there is an increase in the money supply, what happens to the interest rate?
They'll reduce.
Yeah, it will be reduced. So that will also increase spending and consumption. So now you know what will happen to the money supply, aggregate demand, and interest rates when the Fed decides to intervene to prevent the dollar from appreciating. Is this understood to everyone?
Yes.
Good. And this is going to be another question. I mean, all these questions, you're going to see them in the exam. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Question, Professor. For question 32, what does CIP stand for in UIP?
Okay, good. CIP stands for Covered Interest Parity. UIP stands for Uncovered Interest Parity.
And so there will be 9 short answer questions and how many multiple choice?
There will be about, I would say, close to maybe, I really haven't written the exam yet, but I'm just going to give you an idea, a rough idea here. There will probably be 35 multiple choice questions and 5 short question problems. So altogether will be 40.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, the 5 short question problems will be related to CIP, UIP, real exchange rate, and current account balance. Now for
Can
the,
you
for
please?
the CIP and UIP, I suggest you go to those 5 questions that I have posted for you with the answers. Has everyone looked at those questions that I
No.
posted?
I don't think so.
Well,
No.
if you didn't, well, if you didn't, that's your loss, unfortunately, because, you know, they have been posted for a long time now with the answers. So,
Wait, I'm sorry. What were they posted under?
well, they were actually posted under, let's see here. Is it the foreign FEM graph, maybe? FEM, let's see what we have under FEM graph.
Are you in the
Yes,
announcement section?
FEM graph. So let me show you that. Can you
I
see
think your
it?
screen is frozen.
What's that?
You're sharing a different you're sharing your Word doc right now, but not your internet when it comes to share screen.
Oh, you cannot.
So I think when
Oh,
professors
wait. We will get it right now. Yeah, this is the FEM graph right here. So does this look familiar to you, this document that I posted for you? Foreign exchange market in the short run with a graph that looks like that?
would that be located under our announcements?
Yes.
Because
And you will find that it is foreign exchange market in the short run. FEX graph.
It's under-
I'm sorry,
you have
FEX
to-
graph.
Hello.
Interest arbitrage problems. It's like the 4th one down.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
FEM. It's FEM graph. That's the name of the document. Now you can go all the way down here and you will see the 5 questions.
Someone
Right
just
here.
shared.
Yeah, they're right here. All these are 5 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, where do you find the answers to this? Well, the answers to this would be, let's see now. They will be under chapter 15, I believe. Yeah, under chapter 15. Yep, under chapter 15. All the way at the end, it says solutions to Forex problems. Chapter 15. Notes to chapter 15. So if you go to notes on chapter 15, at the end of those notes, you will find solutions to foreign exchange problems. Everyone got that?
Yes.
Good. So that's basically.
And then the like example that you have at the very end of the so you got, that's also something we should like heavily focus on for the short answer.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Now let's see here. Let's go back to Can you see the review of the final exam?
No, we cannot see it. Mm-mm.
Okay, so let's go back to it then. Let's see here. Okay, I guess I have to pretty much.
We can see it now.
Can you see it now? Good. Okay. So let's see now. One problem. So now, as far as CIP and UIP, you know exactly where to go, right? To those 5 problems.
Yes.
And they have solutions to them. The other problem has to do with real exchange rate. Now, the real exchange rate is simply defined as the nominal exchange rate times the foreign CPI divided by the domestic CPI. For example, if the US inflation rate is 3% and that of Europe is 4%, and that the nominal exchange rate is given by $1.08 per euro, what can you say about the real exchange rate? In other words, has the dollar appreciated or depreciated in real terms? So the best way to do that is you use this formula right here. Real exchange rate equals nominal times foreign CPI divided by domestic CPI. Now, how do I find the foreign CPI? By simply looking at the inflation rate in Europe, which is 4%. So here, what you need to put is 104. The domestic consumer price index, you look at the inflation rate in the US, which is 3%. So here you're going to put 103. So you have 104 divided by 103 times 1.08. This will give you the real exchange rate. Now, if you want to find out if the dollar has appreciated or depreciated, all what you need to do is compare the nominal exchange rate with the real exchange rate. Let's say from using this formula, I get the real exchange rate to be equal to 111. So if I compare 111 to 108, I know that the US dollar has depreciated. It went up from 108 to 111. So the dollar has depreciated in real terms. Is this understood?
Sorry, one more time. You divided 1.04 by 1.03, multiplied that by $1.08, and you got what?
You will get the real exchange rate.
Right. I got $1.09 on my calculations.
Oh, you got $1.09?
Yeah.
Okay, that simply means that the dollar has depreciated. It went up from 108 to 109. So the dollar has depreciated in real terms. Everyone got that? Everyone knows how to solve this type of problem when you see it in the exam?
Yes.
Good. And I guess pretty much.
Professor, can you say this one more time, the example? So you say you use the real exchange rate is the nominal exchange rate times
the foreign consumer price index divided by domestic consumer price index.
Uh-huh.
The foreign consumer price index, what you need to do is you need to look at the inflation rate in Europe. So in this case, it's 4%. So I'm going to put 104. If the inflation rate happens to be 8% in Europe, I'm going to put 108. And then I'm going to look at the inflation rate in the US. It's 3%. So I'm going to put in the denominator 103. If the inflation rate in the US is 5%, then I'm going to put 105. And then you do the math, and you will be able to determine what the real exchange rate is.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
you
then
will
we
know,
compare.
yeah,
we
then you will know if the exchange rate has depreciated or appreciated in real terms. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and I guess that's about it. That's pretty much everything that you need to know.
Professor, do we have class on Tuesday?
No, no classes. This is the last class. There will
So
be no classes.
So Professor, if the real exchange rate is come out less than the nominal rate,
Mm-hmm.
that means
That means that the dollar has appreciated in real terms.
okay, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The
Wait.
exam is next Thursday at 1 p.m. Is that correct?
Yeah, the exam will be December 17 from 1 to 2:50 p.m.
Are we meeting over Zoom?
No,
Or is it just like last time where we just
just
took
like
it?
last time, exactly the same format.
Well, are we meeting? I missed that. What meeting in the Zoom for what?
There will be no Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you very much.
No
Have a good-
problem.
Yeah.
No problem at
Have a good
all.
winter break. Thank you.
Hello.
You too. You have a wonderful winter break. And I don't know, I don't think I'll be able to see you again because this is the only class that I'll be teaching next semester and you have already taken it. So I guess that's about it for me and you. I guess we come to the end of the road. And I wish you all the best in all of your endeavors. And I wish you success. And I hope that you will be able to accomplish all your goals. But remember one thing, never give up on anything. Always keep up doing the right thing and always study hard. And there is nothing in this world that you really can't accomplish. It all needs dedication. It needs patience and it needs perseverance. If you have all of those qualities, hey, the sky is the limit. There is nothing that can stop you. It doesn't matter whether you graduate from Cal State Fullerton or from Harvard. It has nothing to do with it. I mean, I graduated from, the best universities, but still, it's exactly the same. There is really, London University is it's one of the greatest universities in the world, but still, it's just like any other university. It all depends on the knowledge that you acquire at the end of the road. What type of knowledge do you acquire and how do you use that knowledge? That's the bottom line. That's what's important. So again, as I said, I wish you all the best. And it's been a pleasure having you all. And I really enjoyed this class. And I don't know if you'll be able to see a copy of the textbook that I will finish, but hopefully maybe you'll be able to see it one day in a library. and probably borrow that book and remember, say, hey, this was our professor. He actually was writing the book when he taught us the course. And now this book is complete. So, hopefully you will be able to get something out of it. But, I tried my best to keep you privy of some of the chapter notes that I put together for you. And, I hope that all of this were helpful to you. Okay, any questions before we close?
Yes, Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
For the writing paper, the term paper, we turn in the first draft in September.
Mm-hmm.
And so
just resubmit that draft with any changes you made.
yeah, but I cannot submit again because it's not allowed.
Why? I will make the changes, and if not, then let me know, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, can I please ask you one more time for the last example? So if the real exchange rate less than nominal exchange rate, so that means the dollar appreciate?
Yes.
And if it's real exchange rate greater than nominal exchange rate, means dollar depreciate.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much to all of you. And as I said, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I'll be able to see you down the road somewhere. I don't know.
Thank you, Professor.
Have a good winter break.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Yes, it's about the exam on Thursday at 1 p.m.
Mhm.
Is it going to be a quiz open on titanium, or I didn't understand that?
Yeah, it's going to be on titanium. So,
Oh, okay, it's going to be open from 1 p.m. to 2?
Right, exactly. From 1
Oh,
p.m.
okay.
to 2:50 p.m.
Okay.
So just go to titanium at that particular time
Mm-hmm.
and download upload. First of all, you have to download the exam. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you download it, you have to upload your answers in a Word doc.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Very simple
Have
procedure.
a good day. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I guess I will have to end this right now. And then again, if anyone has any problems, you can always get in contact with me during my office hours on Monday. And
so you're going to have office hour on Monday?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
No problem. Monday and
Thank you,
Wednesday.
Professor.
No problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night.